And contemplation really is the art of being able to look at reality exactly as it is without your cognitive distortions, without buying into your social constructs, your culture, your upbringing, your past traumas. It's being able to look at things, and in fact, I think contemplation might better be described as re-looking at things exactly as they are. So, although there's many of us out there, 7.8 billion, I believe, at the moment, we all see and experience things in a different way. But there's still one reality. There's one truth, which is a synonym for reality. There's one truth that we are all striving to understand and explore and experience in life. And in fact, this is the journey of life, is to go through all the fakeness, all the clutter, all the distraction, and get to a place where you are experiencing the universe exactly as it is. You, in other words, understand who you are, who God is, and who other people are. You start to become aware of why reality is out there and why it is conscious and why you are conscious and why all these things are happening. So contemplation is taking a loving, long, steady gaze at life and everything in life, including yourself, exactly the way it is. To be able to contemplate reality, you need to go above thinking. You need to go above, you need to transcend your thinking, your intellect. And, when I was young, they would call it, they would judge you by your IQ and tell you how capable and clever you are by your IQ. But today we know that your IQ is really not enough. We have in our center tons of people with some of them the highest IQs you can imagine, and they've thought themselves into depression, and they've thought themselves into anxious states of stress like you cannot imagine. And they've been trapped there for decade after decade. But until they come and transcend that thinking and transcend that intellect and story, they will do nothing but repeat the same things, the same patterns, the same thinking, the same outcomes that don't work for them. So to practice contemplation is something that will teach you how to go above your thoughts, how to go above your thinking. Rediscovering life and who you are is, some people call it recovery. To rediscover life exactly the way it is in reality is something that we all need to do a second time. That's why people say we need to be born again. We need to be awakened. We need to have a life shift or a conscious awakening. All of these things are pointing to going above thinking, above the cerebral, above cognition. And I often mention the example of an apple, but you can get out in nature and experience trees and birds and how water moves and what it does, all again, as if for the first time. And it's not only something that I recommend, but it's something that is necessary. If we look at a green apple, when last did you look at that green apple and really contemplate it, really understand why it is a beautiful color green? It's glossy. It has enough energy in it to keep you alive for a full day. It has potential to create through becoming you something else. And not to get too deep there, but you could carry on with contemplating an apple for years. And life in its abundance is so broad and so wide that you would never even get halfway to contemplating the own things in your own house, in your own living room. So we can really get out there and explore things for the first time again, if that makes sense. And this is what the practice of contemplation brings us. When we contemplate things, you begin to see reality exactly as it is. You begin to understand that life is, as Genesis 1 said, good, 5 times. Good, 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 very good. And the law of complexity all but dissolves when we practice contemplation. The law of complexity, complicated life, stressful life, all but dissolves when we can contemplate the walk we're on, the project we're doing, the movie that we're watching, the music that we're listening to, or the drawings or journaling that we're doing. If we can really, really contemplate these things at the full capacity of our experience, which is physiological, psychological, emotional, and spiritual, if you can contemplate these things and connect with them, you will heal, grow, contribute. And this is what we need to do. As opposed to being stuck and staying stuck in your story, you can re-experience life as good, which it is. And that is something that you'll need to experience for yourself. And then you will have the empirical, etiological evidence that life is good, we're here for a reason, and we're here to spiral upwards to more and more consciousness, not through intellectual thinking, not through knowledge from books and so on. We go above all of that. In that way, you will have what we call contemplative intelligence. You will be able to understand. You see, the intellect is just about question after question after question. But contemplation brings answers. It lets you experience and see reality is exactly as it is. And there is no language for that. There's not one book written. It would be empty. It's beyond language. It's beyond intellect. So contemplation brings us into a real higher state of intelligence that is literally beyond words.